Welcome everybody. With this video we're gonna be trying to improve your decision making overall as a chess player. So for that I decided to use the London system simply because it's the easiest thing to get you going, and then we can start focusing on those middle game plans. These are some of the main concepts that we'll be discussing today, so let's dive right in. With everybody, we're back at it with another white game. Gonna go for the London on d5, starting knight f3, and then bishop f4, playing the normal London. And okay, so far pretty standard and straightforward stuff. And we do get to face another Slav. Gonna go e3, and then normally I expect bishop f5 or bishop to g4, because of course it is very common for them to pin the f3 knight in a lot of these low rated games. Is this low rated game? I don't know. Am I crazy for calling 1500 in Blitz low rated? This guy also is sending a kiss from Canada. Canadians are kissy people, I guess. Okay, bishop g4. The thing about this move is that you can punish it pretty hard. And I'm just debating whether I should start knight b to d2 or just h3 right away. I think both are fine. I think I'll just play h3 because it's kind of creating a healthy habit of asking these bishops what they want to do. And okay, in case of takes, we have bishop pair, long-term advantage. Shouldn't really be too concerned. While the more interesting part, I would say, would have been in case of bishop h5. Because then you can actually go g4. And I know that may look terrifying, like what the hell is going on? We're just trying to play the London. Now you're telling me to play g4? Dude, give us a break. Well, the thing is that after knight e5, h4 is coming on the next move, and it is super unpleasant. Like a typical mistake for the black players is e6, h4, and then knight b d7, and then you play h5. You generally want the bishop, because bishop e4 always there is f3. So yeah, of course none of that happened, and my opponent played e6. I'm just gonna go simple play now. Normally when you play c4, you kind of follow it up with queen b3. So because my queen is already on f3, c4 doesn't really strike me as so interesting. Could also start bishop d3. Yeah, bishop d3, knight d2, c3. The nice thing with the London is that the move order, okay, it's not always super crucial. Like you can get to the same destination, you know, by taking multiple routes. You can get to this position by bus, by train, by the airplane, if, you know, you're fancy enough. You're still gonna get kind of a good position usually. So knight to d2, expecting him to play something like queen c7, because knight b d7 is the desired move to finish development. But the problem is that the bishop would remain undefended. He could also castle. Castle, queen c7, or bishop takes on f4 are the moves that I'm expecting. So okay, queen c7. Now, this doesn't really make a threat of taking because we have that defended numerous times. So I'm just going to get castled. If takes, what do you guys think? We should take with the queen or with the pawn? This is an interesting decision. Definitely take your time on this one. I think that it's pretty obvious to take with the pawn, because thanks to the d3 bishop, he'll probably going to castle, and with the bishop just staring at his king while having queens on the board, we could potentially create an attack. So I think it's definitely worth to keep them on the board. And yeah, just gonna activate. And okay, he goes queen b6. He's being a naughty boy. Naughty boy. Mitzerino, what is up with that? Queen b6. You're not castling and you're trying to infiltrate with the queen. That is not it. Okay. Well, I have simple move, like if I just want to defend, there is knight b3. Also, he's really tempting me to play some sort of f5 and put pressure. Like f5, maybe he castles, and he's somewhat okay. I could still play knight b3 in that position. Pawn takes, queen takes. Sort of a minimal edge. I wouldn't really like to rush with the with a push though. I think I'm just gonna go knight b3, simple move, keep everything defended. And in case of a5, I have to play a4 just to kind of reinforce my knight. Yes, there we have it. c5, I'm probably gonna exchange everything and he's gonna have a bit of a weak square on b5 among other things. So yeah, expecting him to castle, and then it's quite typical for this pawn structure that we just go attack. Just do something like g4. That could be the case. Even though it's a little bit thin here, because I don't see how that plays out. But yeah, maybe on castle I could also take a slower approach, go g3, king g2, h4, and like slowly improve the position. But okay, on c5, I think we have simple move takes. And now, yet again, I could check. Yeah, I think trading cannot really hurt. And then check plus f5. Like f5, he may run away. Sure, he's gonna be down a pawn, but I think this really messes up with his coordination big time. And now he cannot castle because the knight needs to be babysitted. So I'm gonna go f5. This is practically just punishing a very common mistake, which is embarking on this creative operations, you know, without really having castled. It's like you go into a vacation and you don't really control your spendings. And then you get home and you realize you're like $10,000 in debt. That's kind of what's happening right now with my opponent. He got a little bit too carried away with, you know, the fancy restaurants and all the nice shops around. So he forgot to castle. He just played central. He wanted to break. He wanted some juicy pawns, you know. That didn't work out. And now he has to pay the bill. It's going to be a pretty expensive bill here because... Hello? Where is that king going? Oh man. What did we just see? Okay. So, my opponent resigned because, yes, he's gonna lose the queen and he totally collapsed. Well, he played rook d8. Essentially what he does, he is defending the knight so that he could castle. In a way, it makes sense. It's just that this wasn't really gonna save him. And yeah, the position was already doomed. You may be wondering, what up with e5 genius? That just solves it. Well, think again. Because the knight is pinned and you can actually simply take. And then maybe win this one as well, and white would have been winning. Now, whether you're a London system player or not, it is simply vital to understand how to play with opposite castlings. Wait a second, you mean like me and my wife? Bingo! At least some of you are still listening, so let's have a look. Okay, show me what you got, genius. Alright. Back with another game. Gonna be trying out the London. The normal one. And okay, opponent plays the Chigorin. On d5, we start with knight f3. And yeah, Chigorin, in my opinion, one of the most important setups that you need to know how to punish. If you're like around 1000 elo or anywhere below like 1500 blitz, 1700 rapid, you just get a ton of these weird knight plays right there. And he goes with the bishop. Now, okay, notice that he's wanting to double up my pawns and going knight e5, trading his bad knight. Knight on c6 is pretty bad because it's blocking c5. Won't be so effective. So here we simply play e3. And depending on what he does, we will see. He can go knight f6, he can go pawn f6. Those are the moves that normally they play. He can also play e6 actually. Many move orders for these kind of guys. As a rule of thumb, whenever they have the knight on c6, you can totally take the freedom and play for c4 and then knight c3. Simply because, yeah, because I don't know what to talk anymore. What I'm trying to go with this is, since our opponent will no longer strike in the center with c5, we will no longer need to have extra safety that c3 brings defending the center. Thus, we can take a bit of a more aggressive approach whenever the knight is on c6. So, yeah, hopefully that one makes sense. And after thinking for a while, he took. Oh man. I wonder what the thinking process behind the move was. I don't know. He was probably not looking at his phone while playing this move. Okay, e6. I'm basically criticizing him because you only take, for instance, if opponent wastes a move on h3. He's probably the kind of player that just takes knights like that. That's his hobby. Okay, so e6. Now, since there is no more, like... With the queen on f3, c4 is a bit awkward to play. Normally, like, you can use queen b3 idea whenever you do it. But with queen there, you can play for something like c3, knight d2. Pretty simple stuff. We actually had a very similar game to this one. I've had one recently. Maybe it's gonna be in this video as well. Or if not, then this is gonna be pretty awkward. So, okay. Bishop d6. I think we can simply develop just because e5 we could take. And I think he's in some sort of concrete trouble. Opening up the position when he has no development. Pawn's a bit weak. He could also be vulnerable to queen g3 ideas, targeting both e5 and g7. And when he takes, this is interesting decision. I think taking with the queen is fine. But I am just gonna be that guy. And take with a pawn. You know how they do it when a baby is like, I don't know, 1 year old and they just throw the baby immediately in the swimming pool? And apparently there is some science that the baby learns how to swim by his own. This is gonna be similar to what I'm doing to you right now. Because I'm gonna force you into getting games in this structure so that you will feel comfortable about having the double pawn on f4. So we'll never cry again about the fact that, oh, the pawn is weak, I don't want to do that, I just want to do my, I want to play bishop g3, get some London gaming, maybe they take, I open up the file. No. Okay, we gotta do this properly. If you want to play the London, we want to make sure you optimize it. So bishop d3, and now we're just gonna play for pleasant position. Okay, he goes long castle. Basically, this is the main characteristic of the position, that we have kings on opposite sides of the board. It's basically gonna be a race. So meaning you want to start pawns on the next move. It's not negotiable. Sure, like rook e1 would be a nice move, placing it on the open file. But it's about the main characteristic of the position. Opposite castlings, it's a race. Now, we have to kind of consider how the attack is going to play out. Because you can start b4, b5. But then knight on a5 can be a bit of an annoying blocker. So if you start a4, a5, that takes away knight a5. And then b4, b5 basically forces him back. And then you break with b6. That's usually going to be the idea. So I'm just going to do a4. This is easy. You were confused which pawn to push? Now you know. Or at least that's my thinking process. I think it's right, because if he ever tries to like block with a6, now this is going to become a hook. This is also vulnerable to sacrifices as well. Like imagine we just kind of, okay, he's trying to do something similar, but it doesn't really matter. I could slow him down, but I don't think we really care. What I was about to say, imagine we get a knight on c5, and then we just go queen e2, bishop takes on a6. Yeah, like b takes on a6, queen takes on a6 check, king b8, queen b7. That would be a typical mate. But I don't think you really need complications like that. I think maybe simply b5. If I do b5, he probably goes pawn takes, and then he goes king d7. And he starts running. So perhaps I'm just going to get my knight on c5, making sure that the king is not going to try to chicken out. Yeah, okay, g5 he wants, but notice that's not a threat, because the knight would be hanging. So do I do b5 right away? Yeah, I think I do b5 now. Because if he takes and he wants to bail out, I got knight c5. And that's actually winning the b7 pawn. And it's a pretty significant damn pawn because this pawn is quite close to queening. You may not realize, but only 3 squares away, it's not that far. So, yeah, using the a6 pawn as a hook. Notice that my opponent has no hooks, meaning that he will really have a hard time getting any action. Like h3, g3, simple move, and okay. Knight e7, targeting the bishop. Bishop goes back. We just open up the b line. Gonna go like knight c5 next, and then we have clear target. Pawn on the open file. We can bring a rook, and yeah, told you g5. Not a good move because the knight hangs. Okay, pick up the free piece. Kind of a pity that we don't even get to the attacking part, but okay, maybe there is some sort of scary attack that we should be worried of. Okay, this, if you do g3, pawn takes, rook g3, f, hg, queen g3, king h1, queen g2, you get mated. But then you look for alternatives. So something like king h1 is probably just good enough. And if rook g2, okay, it looks like there is mate on h2, but you have many ways to deal with it. So queen e5 is a move, or even f4. But queen e5 easiest. And notice that it looks like, oh, there are so many pieces next to our king. But no, there is no mate. We'll just have to speed up a bit. 19 seconds to convert this. I'm just going to try to get rid of his rooks. He can play h3. That's a good move. I'm going to try to activate my pieces in the meantime. For, as long as he tries to be annoying. I gotta be honest, this is a bit uncomfortable. But I'm simply targeting the h3 pawn right now. Could probably mess up this game by some, slow brain. It's called the slow brain concept, that we don't have that much time on the clock, but position was easily winning. Oh, that quite helpful. Opponent giving us a hand. And I'm gonna take free rook. What can I say? Very generous guy. If he d4, I'm gonna take queen d5. Opponent sees almost everything. He's for 1400. I gotta be honest. He pushed the pawn on h5. He was going for the raise. He sort of understood the situation perfectly. He went for an interesting attack. I feel like he calculated everything, but he just saw the critical details one move too late. Apart from that, he played pretty well. So, okay, he just rage quits. So, yeah, let's hop in a game review. See what happened. Yeah, I got like a 91. I'm sure that most of you are loving these more double-edged games, but it's time to actually balance yourself down a little bit. So in the following game, I'm gonna be showing you how to punish the double pawns. Alright, boys and girls, back with another white game against the Soul of Tal. Oh, excuse me, Soul of Tal opponent. I'm wondering what would Mr. Tal think about facing the London system. I don't think that would be very exciting chess for his style. But, yeah, we do get a very symmetrical kind of copycat opening, which is, in my opinion, highly instructive, especially for this rating range. And we genuinely get the copycat. Okay. All right. So, two ways of playing this. Because bishop is on f5, there's always idea to play c4, queen b3. But because his bishop is open, he can get all kinds of like interesting lines like takes and then check on b4. That's utterly annoying. It's like playable, but for beginners, I'd rather stay away from that. And against copycat, I just like the simple bishop d3 with idea to meet takes by not taking with the queen but with the pawn. Because you want to go for something like knight c3, castle, and then push in the center with e4. And notice that if they go DE, you undouble the pawns, and all of a sudden, voila, you got a strong center of pawns, and he doesn't. So you're better and will probably lose anyways, but we don't really care because we love chess for the game and not for the result. And instead he plays knight e4. And okay, this is quite an interesting position. He has potential to push, and this is one of the, I believe, weird scenarios where I think we have to take. It's not only move, but it's pretty good actually, because most people would take with the bishop. Yeah, taking with the pawn, I think it's bad for him because it's gonna be a weak pawn. The thing is why this is so good to give the bishop pair in such a weird way is that after bishop takes, you have knight bd2. And if they keep, you have quick c4 and then quick queen b3. And some crazy initiative on the queen side. I believe this knight e4 move was given in some chessable course, I think by Erwin Lamy. But I was quite happy with this find. Hopefully this is the proper move order. And now knight e5 f6 is annoying from what I remember. So simple knight d2 should be fine. Yeah, g5 I don't think it should really be that scary. Maybe simply bishop back and h5, h4. Something like that. Yeah, I don't really see how black follows up. So okay, he goes bishop g6, basically just making room for f5. But notice how his position is all of a sudden quite dubious. Like he's gonna play f5 to defend, but this bishop is like a taller pawn. And the weak square on e5 really starts to tell eventually. Also quite typical idea to open up this pawn structure is f3. This is really one of the key moves whenever he gets to take. And trust me, this is really a structure that you wanna remember because it happens a lot. Like these low elo guys, they just have a fetish for playing these knight e4 and then getting a weak pawn for free. Like this is one of the biggest fetishes that these guys have, trust me. They like bad pawn and bad bishop. I don't know what to say about that. Okay, knight to c6. Notice bad bishop, notice bad pawn, weak square, because it's not protected by any other pawns. And many options, could castle either side. Could also play knight c4 to activate. He probably wants to do bishop d6 next, so in that regard, knight c4 looks quite strong. Because we could potentially take with a knight and then maybe even d5. Yeah, many moves. I don't even have to react, honestly. Oh, okay, so he does bishop b4, interesting move. So he wants to take and then some sort of queen d5. Question mark. Now, with that being played and bishop c3 coming, doubling up the pawns, castling long would make my king pretty weak. So I gotta go onto the other side. And yeah, if he takes, I take. If he goes there. d5 interesting. Bishop c3, d6 quite interesting. And if ed5, knight d5 seems pretty strong with dynamic chess. Targeting the bishop, targeting c7. It feels like we're getting a lot of tempo moves. I'm not sure that this is the most precise. I could have played slower as well. But it just feels like when you get so many tempis. What is the bishop going? I just forgot. I thought he can safely play this, but we take. And bishop c5. That's a pawn. There is some bread on c7. I want some bread. I'd like Mikhail Tal's bread in particular. No homo. Okay, knight e6 about to come. That's gonna be another fork. That's like an octopus knight, or what do you guys call this? An octopus knight and a wooden shield. What is a wooden shield even? I know this is, you guys like these chess terms, but to this day, I'm not sure what is the wooden shield, so maybe somebody educates me in the comment. I'm gonna bring my rook simply. Bishop there activates the knight, so I'm just gonna play literally the only active knight move. Nah, just kidding. I'm gonna offer trade. I want to prioritize the trades when we are having the extra pawn. You guys know me. I thought you guys know me better than that. You thought I'm gonna play aggressive for once while having extra material? You guys picked the wrong YouTuber. Okay. Alright, attacking my rook. Where do you guys think we should move that rook? Why did he resign? Nowhere, of course. Knight also moved backwards. We could simply take that. So, this was pretty good game, I think. Got 96. Now for the last games, I'm not even gonna give any spoilers. I'm just gonna say that this is the nicest game that I have played in a while, and trust me, I'm a nerd with no social life, and I play a lot of games of chess. So this one is gonna be really special. Alright everybody, back with another normal London facing a French opponent, Anto Marciano. Okay. Salut. Let's go for the possessional London. So starting with the knight, then getting the bishop. And the opponent goes for quick e6, bishop d6. So already he chose the French way of playing to pretty much murder his own light squared bishop. And key idea, whenever you're dealing with this early tension, do not autopilot by going bishop g3 because he does not have to take and open up your rook. Instead, go for pawn e3. Allow them to take. Simply because the trade is actually to our favor. So there's no way my opponent can ever like attack this pawn. I know a lot of people are a little bit afraid to enter this structure thinking that this is a weakness. Pardon me, it's actually a strong point because any queen d6 type of stuff can at the very least be met by g3. Also in that very position, since queen b4 could be a double attack, there is interesting queen d2 to stop that idea. But he plays knight f6, so we're gonna have a pretty standard game. Knight d2 or bishop d3 or c3. The nice thing about the London is that you can get to the same destination in multiple ways. So yeah, it's even if you mess up the move order, it shouldn't really be that big of an issue. I normally like to start with the knight and okay, probably c3 now. C3 would be the most precise way because when you have this, what I like to call the boa constrictor structure, because we're just trying to constrict our opponent like a boa snake. His only idea to equalize is to exchange the bishop. So if he does not find the bishop trade, he's just gonna be worse for the rest of the game without any like counterplay. So he needs to find b6, bishop a6. So if he plays b6, from what I remember in the best course of the year on the London system, it's recommended that you don't go bishop d3. So the best computerish way of trying to squeeze an advantage out of that is by going h4. Which is a very interesting idea, allowing them to play bishop a6. And because we have delayed bishop d3, we can take on a6 in one go without losing a tempo. And after knight takes on a6, we keep going with h5. And if he stops our pawn with h6, then we can continue with moves like queen e2, targeting the knight. Usually they play knight c7, we go knight e5, and then we can continue with g4. Rook g1 and eventually some g5 idea with an attack against the black king. But yeah, on c5, this is typical stuff. I can play bishop d3 now or dc5. It's actually pretty obvious that my opponent is not gonna try to exchange the bishop. So yeah, curious which one would be best here. I think I'm just gonna stick with takes, and on queen c7 we'll have an interesting decision. So you can try to pause the video and think about which pawn should we try to keep. Because you can keep c5 by playing b4, or you can keep this pawn. So the key idea, you want to save the f5 pawn because it's controlling the central square, keeping the enemy bishop passive. This is pretty much the only reason why we're better in this structure. So I could have played g3 to defend, but even knight e5 is more active move here. Part of the plan, letting him take, and then I'm gonna go bishop d3. So, yeah, very standard so far. Is this an increment game? I'm getting a little bit concerned about my time management, but I had to explain that cheeky little detail early on. Okay, knight c6. So if he takes, improving my pawn structure, I think we're fine with that. So just castle. Yeah, okay. Apparently, I think we are getting some increment. Not sure exactly what it is, but there is some increment. Okay, queen b6. Attacking the pawn. What you don't want to do, typical low elo move, queen c2, because you're placing yourself on the semi-open file. So in the future, if a rook is placed on that square, opponent has all kinds of tricky knight jumps, like knight b4, winning the bishop here can be utterly annoying. So on queen b6, many moves actually. I would say generally, whenever you can defend it with simple rook b1, it's usually the best move. I was also considering knight b3, because knight is heading to d4 anyways, but knight b3, a5 maybe was a little bit annoying, so I decided to stick with rook b1 eventually. And wow, this is actually looking very good. This can turn out to be a very instructive game against Anto Marciano. All right, queen c7. So he wants to take and take on e5 twice. So we have a choice between rook e1 defending or queen e2. I don't think it really matters what move we play here. I think queen e2 is the most flexible. Generally in this structure, I like e2 square for the queen, and the rooks will go onto the central files. Not just for the sake of playing into the center, but because these files are semi-open. So notice that because we have no pawns on those files, our rooks can be pretty active. So as a pro tip, whenever you think about making a rook move, you kind of want to think in advance, what do you want to do with the other rook as well? Because for instance, a typical mistake would be to go rook fd1. You think, oh, I get the d file, so nice. But then this rook remains misplaced. So yeah, rook here, rook there, ideally. However, you want to watch out for opponent's moves as well. Rook d8. Not very clear what it does. I guess could be an indicator, maybe some d4. At the very least, we can sidestep and just say opponent gifted us free e4 square for the knight. So now that I no longer need this rook, I think I'm just gonna kind of respond to his idea. I'm gonna get a bit prepared, and on d4, c4, knight b4, that could be a bit annoying. Okay, I mean, I have simple move a3, allow knight d3 and take with the queen perhaps, but I also have d4, c4, knight b4, maybe bishop b1 option. Maybe. Not sure. Ideally bishop b1, but has to be calculated. And okay, other than that, rook e1, knight f3, knight d4 are usually moves that you know, you can let your cat in front of the computer and will do pretty well in this position. So okay, yeah, d4. He's trying to get the counterplay. Taking is just activating all of my opponent's pieces, so the move is to push, obviously here. So I'm not allowing any knight d5, not allowing the active rook, and okay, he just gifted us juicy square for the horse. Now, this is probably gonna be his argument, trying to fight for the bishop, but even if I give him the bishop, the pawn on d4 can become sort of a target in the long run. I would really love to play bishop b1 though, and then go a3 and keep everything. Yeah. So okay, he plays b6, preparing some stuff. I'm looking whether there is any way to exploit this diagonal. Not that I can see. I'm quickly checking some more active option like knight e4, because if he takes, that's losing after queen e4 attacking the knight in h7. That's deadly double attack. So knight e4, can he take on e5? So I can take on f6, pawn takes on e5, say queen takes. Yeah, I don't quite like that. And I'll have to make some quick move now because we don't have much time. I'm gonna play a3, prophylactic, and then rook e1, just staying on the position. Knight e5, fe. We just don't have to rush at this point. So we have pretty nice positional advantage with more active pieces, potential target. Okay, knight e8. This has to wake up your instinct for Greek gift. However, I don't think it's quite working. Even though I would have really loved it to be working. I'm gonna do g3 because on f6, well, I don't know. This was a bit unnecessary move, but still improving. I just wanted to defend. Okay, knight f3. The knights are defending each other. Yet again, constantly having this on my radar. Perhaps I could also consider some queen e4. But yeah, knight f6 was there. He takes... I think we improve our pawn structure and then bishop e4. Also, the knight is dominated by this. So, yeah. He should do rook c8, trying to stop me from bishop e4, because then he can take and my pawn will be hanging. He does not, allowing this nice trade. Yeah, now we can just scoop up the d pawn and then try to exchange everything on the d file. Should be a bit of an easy technical win. Okay, take with the knight. Nothing scary, so maybe even knight c6 idea on a good day. He chose to centralize my queen. That's pretty kind. The French people are pretty welcoming. He took on e4, saying, come on, activate your queen. Here's also a croissant, in case you're hungry. Okay, I'm gonna go knight b5 to d6, heading towards the outpost. Yeah, d6 is the outpost. Also, knight f5 I would have played the same, in case he was taking everything. He had issues with the rook, after rook d6. So, yeah, if b5, b4, it's a good move. I can also play b4 now. Yeah. I can also consider g4 to stop knight f5, but I don't think it's a problem. Now, next up, some rook d4 was considering. Okay, so he's not really threatening to take. Maybe can I do g4 to highlight that idea? Yeah, let's do it. Because if he takes, it's actually improving my pawn. Because rook takes, I highlighted that motif a second ago. Rook will be hanging. So better for him maybe to keep knight, yeah? Okay, knight h4. Interesting. I'll just do rook d3. Controlling this file in case of any nonsense. Maybe rook h3 idea. Maybe f4 next. Yeah, okay, g5. Good move by him. I should have played f4. Still, it's not too late to do it now. And after we open up the file, there's gonna be some pressure. Yeah, so takes, knight g6, queen f6, it's likely to happen. h6 allows f5. Do I do it right away? Yeah, I'll just prepare. Get my rook ready for the party. Rook f1, f5. f5 idea to take and rook f6. So Yeah, it was a bit unnecessary to give him this g5, but on the other hand, it could turn out to be more of a weakening than anything else, because I could, yeah, next up take and infiltrate with a rook. Yeah, so f5 and takes, it's pretty slow. I think we just go for this and use the infiltration. f6 square is very juicy. Go on f6. You can just have some nice coffee and a baguette with the rook here, just chilling. His pieces are tied down. I have idea to sacrifice, but not yet. So see that the rook was kind of nicely placed here. Maybe I did have idea to sacrifice right away, but I'm a moron. I'm just the worst chess player in history, so I didn't see it, but no, I think it works quite nicely. So he will be forced to block with the queen, but I think we have a very nice final touch. So I'll ask you to pause the video shortly. Has to do this, only way to block, and we just need to see whether this check does anything, but I don't think so. We can just come closer. Okay. He has to check. That's important. He's still lost, but he has to try it. Wow, he found it. Damn. Okay, let's repeat the possession once. So the problem is if I go there, he's gonna take with check. But yeah, it's gonna be a winning rook endgame. So plan is on rook d3, I go king e4, and yeah. Okay, he didn't allow me to play a nice tactic. I'll show you what it was. Okay, so I think we just use the king with this idea next. And remember that whenever you're playing an endgame, you want your king to be like Manuel Neuer. So also could just promote if allowed. Promotion doesn't hurt. Who said no to a promotion? Not me, I'll tell you that. If a promotion is offered, I say thank you. It's a very well-deserved promotion. I will take it. And yeah, keep pushing. The rook has to go passive now, but the king will easily deal with it. The king will politely pinch the rook from d7 and yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, opponent resigns. Nice. All right. So I have to show you one idea which was particularly cute, and I'm like really kicking myself for not getting to play in the game. So yeah, I could have taken immediately because on queen g7 I have these takes, and king h8 I have check. I just forgot that everything comes in with tempo, but more so in the game. Shout out to my opponent for finding that good defense. Oh, okay. So I took, and I was hoping I can show you guys this tricky idea. So pause the video and find the winning move. This was a pity that we didn't get to highlight during the game, because we would have had the magnet sacrifice. And king g7, we keep magneting him until we get to collect this queen. But yeah, all in all, I feel like this was a pretty accurate game. Got a 92 despite a little bit of a time scramble.